No milk today, my lover's gone away. The bottle stands for love, a symbol of goodbye. No milk today, it seems a common sight, but people passing by don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned of queen? No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turned night into day.
Everyone out there in the world, it's Plastic EP, Daniel Costin, Ed Rising. I'm coming in from Australia. The other two guys are coming in from the US. Let me tell you, we got rock and roll royalty, British invasion, royalty. This man is original guitarist of Hermit'S Hermits. And let me tell you, the world loves Hermit'S Hermits now, more in 2026 than ever before. And we want to welcome you to the show, Keith. We love you.
Thanks for a brilliant introduction, Plastic EP. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Now, off the record, I'll tell you where I got the name Plastic EP from, right? John Lennon used to refer to records as a piece of vinyl, right? So that's where I got the plastic from. And EPs, you know what they are, the single.
Yeah, extended players. Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's talk, Keith, about your appearance at Chiller Theatre, right? The convention now, which is going to be in April. And that's going to be on April the 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Hilton there at Parsippany, New Jersey. You must be really looking forward to that.
I'm really looking forward to it when they asked me to go. I mean, I've never done one before, but it was quite exciting. So I spoke to Dan about it, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to meet everybody. And then, by chance, Peter Noon was playing one of his gigs like down the road on the Saturday night. So it's been a double thing that's going. It's great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's going to make an appearance with you, for an hour or something? He's going to sign.
Yeah, he's going to come in on the Saturday afternoon on the 25th, and then on his show is that night in Eastern Pennsylvania. So I'm going to go over and join him there on the night as well.
How's that for timing? And we also got our good friend Charles F. Rosen, who organised this interview for us. And I just got to say, that is a magnificent event there, and you'll meet everyone from the US. And let me tell you, the love from the 60s has come full circle. Yeah. Every new generation now is discovering the Hermit'S Hermits. And people have to understand in the 60s, and only you can say this, Keith, right? But I heard you were staying at a hotel and the Stones were in there, and everyone's screaming out on the street there, and they're screaming for Hermit'S Hermits. They're not screaming for the Stones. Is that true?
No. Yeah, I remember it well. Yes, I didn't go down too well with the Stones, which they reminded us of us very frequently.
Hey, quiet! Quiet! What's the matter with you? What's Herman got that I haven't got? Oh, well. Can't win them all.
Here we go with the great English recording group, Hermit'S Hermits.
She's a must to avoid, a complete impossibility. She's a must to avoid, better take it from me. You think she's a prize at the start, but take my advice, play it smart. Just play it. She's nothing but trouble, better from the devil before she gets into your heart. She's a must to avoid, a complete impossibility. She's a must to avoid, better take it from me. When you stare into her pretty blue eyes, there's a way to see through her disguise. But don't try to love her, cause you'll quickly discover you're trapped in the web of her lies. She's a must to avoid, a complete impossibility. She's a must to avoid, better take it from me.
Tell me about your new song, Remember When.
We met Dan and I, my son. We met up with Peter last summer and had a meeting and talking about all the things and opportunities and that. And this came up, and I said, "Well, let's do it." So we got the song together, and then Dan and I went over to California and up to a little studio in Santa Barbara and cut the whole thing there, and came back and mixed it all here. And we were just been waiting for a good time to release it. And this it was absolutely perfect because we'll both be together, and so that's the day it's released, April 25th.
Well, we've got to say congratulations to your son Dan with Pluto Productions, and it's good that he's really taken his stride and he's with you. And I mean, how great is that? You got your family involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got some good ideas and he looks after me. Yeah.
We got to ask about the thrilling book that you got out,
Oh
Memoirs of
yeah.
the Hermit's Hermits.
Yeah, this is the book,
Yep.
and I wrote this over the last few years, and it's basically the whole thing. That obviously a big chunk of it is about the band, but then after the band, I went on to do a load of other things, writing for television and children's things, Bob the Builder, and all this sort of stuff, and it carries on. So it's really the whole story of my life, and it's also got thousands of pictures of memorabilia and photographs. So I wanted it to be more, like you get a magazine that's full of article that's full of pictures. I want it to have that look, but be a book. And I think that's what we've got. So it seems to have gone down very well. So we'll have those at Chiller as well. It's called A Hermit's Tale. It's available now on keithhopwood.com, or it will be at the Chiller Theatre.
Make sure you get your signed copy there.
First, Keith, let me ask, great to finally meet you virtually. And what was it like to work with Peter Noon again in the studio after all these years?
Oh, it was great. We were big mates back when we were in the band together, so we always got on. I mean, always in bands is certain fallouts and but we had a good relationship. And obviously, I've not seen that much of him in the past years. So I've met him a few times when he's been over here and when we've met in Europe and that. But this was just a great opportunity. He was up for it, and he liked the song, and we had a great. We were there about a week, and we had a lovely time. It's good.
When's Remember When coming out?
Well, that's out on the same day, to April 25th. So we'll have signed copies, CD copies of it there, and it'll be on all the usual platforms as well.
Yeah, so we're excited about the new single, and I want to
Yeah,
thank you for the music that Herman's Hermits gave us through all the years.
thank you.
I grew up in the 60s listening to the Beatles and listening to Herman's Hermits and Frankie Valli and the Four
Yeah,
Seasons
yeah,
and all
yeah,
these things. I was a little kid, but all this came into my life through my older sister,
yes,
and so I'm so glad that she did. And so I would get listen to her 45s, and A Must to Avoid was like
yeah,
my
yeah,
favorite in that period. And as a rhythm guitarist, I gotta
yes.
say that's gotta be a fun song for you to play because it drives so well.
It was great. Yeah, we got to record that. That was a PF Sloan song, and we got to record that in LA when we were there doing this movie for the first movie we did, which was quite an experience. But the songs part of it was really cool. So we did that in RCA Studios there, and had a great time doing it. It's a good one to play, as you say.
I gotta say, my favourite song is "I'm Into Something Good." Goff and King wrote that,
Yeah, yeah,
if I'm right. And also, I got to tell you, of all the movies, Hold On is my favourite. So I got to ask you, Keith, first of all, what is your favourite Hermit's Hermit song of all time, and what is your favourite movie? Tell me why.
I think probably No Milk Today is one of my favorites. I mean, Something Good. I mean, it's Something Good. It'll always have a special place because that was the first one. It was came right out of the box and was a complete shock to everybody. It went straight to number one, which was unbelievable. But No Milk Today, I just like the construction of the song, and it's a great one to perform and sing. So I like that. The movies, I would not say Hold On was my favorite. No, I think of what we did, probably the Mrs. Brown one was, a little bit better.
They're not the sights of road.
Around the corner, put your barrel down. That's the place where you'll get rich.
It's Hermit's Hermits. Now, they're singing and dancing with Stanley Holloway of My Fair Lady fame. Together, there's something to shout about.
Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter. Tell her that I'm well and feeling fine.
Five lads buy a dog called Mrs. Brown and find they got more than they bargained for.
Hey, she took that turn like a real champion.
They dream up a scheme to raise entrance fees while they put in a plug here and there for group loyalty.
Well, there's just 5 of us. And Mrs. Brown, but she won't be around.
Mrs. Brown, look, I don't want anything like that. I run a nice clean house. Bloody foreigners.
Hermit's Hermits come from nowhere to make a conquest of London. Landmarks and all.
At the peak of the British invasion, you guys were like leaders, original. Like I got to say, Peter Noon was singing for the Hermit's Hermits before Davy Jones was singing for the Monkeys.
Yeah,
you know, but you guys were already up there before the Monkeys. And I just want to ask you, because you were born in Manchester, did you know Davy or any of the Monkeys?
I met them. I've met them once since. I met Davey, and I think I met Mickey. Peter knew them obviously quite well because he's lived there for that long. But yeah, Davey was from Manchester. Yeah,
I just cannot describe how big the appeal of the Hermit's Hermits were. Like, let me explain why. My reasoning. You had the Beatles. Okay, now they come up the hard way. They worked through the clubs. They were this and that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you guys were like, how can I say, like pop, bubblegum, everything. And what happens is you had the true British invasion sound. You incorporated dance hall songs from the old days, like the kind of Henry VIII songs that no one did. So you really had the true British invasion sound with all the songs that you copied. Plus, there were signature songs. They were unique songs. They were only for you guys. Like, the songs, the list of songs is unbelievable. And the compilations now that come out now on CD and the original records is like the songs mean something. There's songs that you did that actually mean something.
Well, that's right. That's right. I mean, I think, a big part of our success then was actually the quality of the songs. They were from all over the place. As you say, Carole King, the first one, Sam Cooke ones, the Silhouettes had been covered about 3 times before from the early 50s, I think. But they were just all of a fantastic quality, and more than that, they fitted us. They fitted straight in. So that was a big part of it, I think.
Like my sentimental friend over there, there's a song that no one can sing to the world except Peter Noon and yourselves, and that was what was unique. That is the unique sound. Those kind of songs that no one could do or no one did then. They were so personal to the listener.
That's right. Yeah, they were. That was a great song. My Sentimental Friend. That was a lovely one. Yeah. So yeah, we it all came as you can imagine, a bit of a huge shock. We had the big hit in England with it. We went over to New York and did a bit of promotion. We stuck the first record out, which did very well. But then, like within 3 months, the thing had just caught fire, and we were at an unbelievable level, and it was a surprise to everyone, even all the team round us. We'd be going places, and there'd be like 2 policemen there as security and nothing else, and 10,000 kids. So it was all a bit hairy at times. Spent more time in the States than we spent anywhere. Each year we were back. It's a big place, so there's lots of places you can go.
Well, I'll ask you about a few cities in America, but I actually wanted to double back to Mrs. Brown. understanding
Yeah.
was really brought the song into the band, but you had a part in getting that distinctive guitar sound.
It was a song that was written for a TV drama actually, and sung by Tom Courtney originally on a record, and it had been picked up by the band, and we did it as like a novelty act in the band. You know, Peter dressed up a bit, and he did it, and that's all we thought it was, a novelty. And when we were recording the album after, I mean, It's Something Good was so successful, we went to do an album, and we sort of did, as you would imagine, most of the songs that we knew. And we were a bit short, and Mickey Most, our producer, said, "Well, you know, what have you got?" And we said, "Well, we've only got this song, but we can't do this. You know, it's a novelty." Anyway, we played it for him, and he said, "No, it's all right." So we recorded it and thought nothing more about it. And the original record had been played on a banjo, which I didn't have, and I couldn't play. So I had a Gretsch guitar at the time, which had some dampers on it, which wound up and damped the strings without you having to do it with your hand, which was a sort of close approximation of the banjo sound. So that's how that came about. And then, you know, they put the album out in America 6 months later, and somebody in the Midwest, some DJ in the Midwest, sort of took a fancy to this and started playing it, and then it just spread. And in the end, although none of us wanted to release it, it was released finally, you know, and was it just an enormous hit. So you know, that sort of planted everything and put us on the map sort of everywhere. It was quite amazing, and that sort of led to like Henry VIII and stuff like that, you know.
Ed.
So I live in North Carolina, and you played there a good bit. I think one of my favorite songs of yours is actually East West, which talks about touring across the U.S. Yeah. Talk about touring the U.S. and you played North Carolina. You played everywhere in America during the 80s.
We'd go over for, you know, after the initial thing, which was a Dick Clark, you know, tour with a lot of other bands. After that, we'd just tour. We'd always take an English band with us as a support. So we took the Animals one time, we took the Hollies, then we took the Who. We'd go over for like 2 months at a time. We'd go home for a month and then go back and do it all again, you know. But I mean, it's such a massive place that we weren't really sort of repeating it that often, you know. We would go to the same place, but it'd be like, you know, 6 months apart. So
what was the process in finding some of these songs? Like, I'm Leaning on the Lamppost. Like you said, Mrs. Brown, you've given us that story.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the songs that we found, the single songs that we found were Mickey Most. That he came up with this. I found this one next, or we'll do Wonderful World. We'll cover Sam Cooke's song next, you know. And he was looking for songs that were either covers or originals, but that fitted our image, our style, you know. And that's what he was so good at that. You know, that's why
How
most
was
of
he
us.
able to figure out what your style is?
Well, not so much style, but just fitting in with the whole, you know, yes, this would be. There was one famous one where he was producing Donovan at the time, and
Yeah.
Donovan had written this song, and they'd done the backing track for it. And Donovan said, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And he was just going to throw it away. Anyway, we heard this backing track, which we loved. So we said, we got to do it. We got to do it, you know. And Mickey said, no, it won't work. It won't be a hit. Anyway, we persevered, and he said, okay, we'll do it. So we did it, and we put it out. And he was absolutely right. You know, it came up and disappeared without a trace. So we left it to him after that. The single tracks that we had were mostly down to him finding them and picking them, you know. I think the first one was when he'd been over in New York. He's done the Animals by then with House of the Rising Sun, and he was over in New York at the Brill Building and all those places looking for songs, and that's where he came across Simon as Something Good, and brought that back, and there we were.
Now, Keith, you're going to love this question, right? Because only I can ask it, because Plesky lives in Melbourne, Australia. So if you remember doing the Hilton TV show here in Melbourne I think it
yeah.
was 1965 or 66. What year was it?
66 it would have been, I think. I
Right,
think.
was that at the actual Hilton Hotel?
Oh, now you've got me. I've no idea where it was. I know they're
Okay.
probably in the TV studio, wasn't it? I think was the Hilton. I'm not sure the Hilton actually referred to a hotel. It was. Uh, I know exactly which one you're talking about. I can picture it in my mind, but I don't know what the Hilton was. Whether that was a brand of something, because it
Yeah,
was.
I'm not sure if it's the hosiery, Hilton Hosiery.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I
Yeah,
think that's
it was
what it
not a
was.
hotel. It was to
Yeah.
do with the sponsor, basically. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I said that because there's a Hilton Hotel here. So it's
yeah.
easy
Right.
to confuse it, but it's definitely the hosiery. Now, I want to tell you, there's a time when you came in 66, right?
Yeah.
And you experienced Australia. Tell me what that was like for you. Give us everyone out there here in Australia.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, it was a long flight, and all in those days it took nearly 24 hours to get there, and the plane just kept stopping everywhere, but you didn't get off. It just needed more fuel, like stopped in New Delhi and then somewhere else, and then finally you get there. You don't know what day it is. And so we collapsed in a heap and get up, and the first thing shock we found out was that all the bars shut at 6 o'clock, which we couldn't believe. So the only place you could get a drink was in the hotel. It was very weird. And we were there with Tom Jones. He
Yeah.
was on the show as that, and we had a fantastic time. It was a really good sort of introduction to it all. And then we went back again about 3 years later, I think, and did it again. And the bars this time they actually stayed open until 10 o'clock, so it was getting really wild then. So, but it was a great experience, and I've been back since. I really enjoy it. Melbourne particularly was a fave. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I got to say, Peter Noon, I've interviewed him, and he tells a story of himself and Tom Jones going down to St Kilda. But what I'm saying is, unless you come and you see, and at that time, there's the peak. Like, what month did you come? Do you remember?
I want to say February, something like that,
Yeah,
but I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up.
sure.
I think it was February. It wasn't the winter. I think it was summery. So January, February. I think. Yeah.
Okay. At the end of 66, in September, the Monkeys went on US TV. And I'm just saying, did
Yeah.
you guys then see the Monkeys on TV and go, hey, they're imitating us? Or did Peter Noon go, that's me?
Well, yeah, there was a certain part of it like that, but really they were quite different in the way the show was presented. They were very wacky and more actors and singers, and really at that point, so it wasn't that similar.
I can see a bit of similarity because I mean the producers basically had
Yeah.
vision of everything. And I mean, who's the closest group to the Monkeys? If you ask me, Hermit's
Yeah.
Hermits comes pretty close.
Well, yeah,
You guys are
in
up there.
terms of age and appeal, we probably were, but I think in terms of the show, they were more trying to emulate what the Beatles had done in Help. With the whether on Hard Day's Night where they had four houses next to each other, and it was just like totally bizarre. So it was that visually, that's what they were trying to sort of emulate. But yeah, musically, yeah, you're quite right. And an age appeal, same thing. Yeah.
With all the musicians that you've come across in your career, can you tell me like who you came across and somebody you may have admired and thought, oh, I'm a fan of his yourself, and you didn't know that sort of how can I say, meet and experience that meeting? Is there anybody that came across during your career and you go, gee, that was a buzz?
Yeah, we met a load of different people. I remember one of the first people we met who we were blown away with, only because we loved he was a guitarist. He wasn't a star or anything, and it was James Burton, and he played on all the sort of Ricky Nelson records and all. It just had a fantastic sound, and we were in awe. I mean, it was like virtually the first time we'd been to California, very early on. And you meet people like that who you just know from listening to the records in your bedroom and that, and you finally meet them. It was like a real thrill. And then, what was what? Oh, we went to a club in LA and Little Richard was on, so we met him and on the stage with him, and just very memorable. And another one was Johnny Cash. We're in somewhere Midwest in a big hotel, and walking down a corridor, there's Johnny Cash coming the other way. So we had like half an hour with him and just chatting about things. It's a very privileged. It was fantastic to meet all these people.
Well, I want to ask you about the song Dandy and how Ray Davis brought that song into Herman's Hermits.
And that was a strange one because usually, they just did all their own songs. I think it was a song. I don't know if they ever recorded it, and I'm not sure. But again, it was a song that came up. Maybe he might have even written it for us. Without asking, we were having a lot of big hits, and a lot of people sat down and wrote songs specifically for us and pitched them to Mickey. And how about this? How about this? Particularly once we'd been successful in America, that they want to get their songs in there. We weren't right. We were writing. I was writing with Lek then, but not the hits. We were just a bit young to be, doing that. And so I think it could have been one where, Ray in a moment thought, well, I'll pitch one in, and it was a good one.
What are some of your favorite songs that you and Lek wrote during the Hermits era?
We wrote a lot. We had a few B-sides and a lot of album tracks. I think Gaslight Street was probably the one that we liked the most out of those, And then we just kept on writing, and the last few years since the COVID thing where we were all sort of locked down, and it was Dan that sort of said, because I was writing a lot in the 80s. I've got my own studio in Manchester, and I'd write all these songs and I'd demo them or never finish them, and because at that time, you needed a deal, and it was complicated to actually just put a record out, so they would never got finished. So a few years ago in the COVID thing, Dan said, well, what happened to them all? I said, well, they never got finished. So we decided to dig them out. The ones that were good, we kept. I wrote some more, and this was this album, Never Too Late, that I put out. And it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It got a nice reception. So we carried on. We've done a couple of EPs, Freedom Calls, Chapter 1, Chapter 2. Chapter 3 we've done, which is finished and ready, and that'll also be released on April 25th. So I'm just going to carry on doing that. We had a great time, and I've got a good bunch of guys here that come in and help me on the music. So yeah, more of that.
Well, that's exciting that you had this Never Too Late CD. Is that going to become available on all platforms come the 25th?
Oh yeah, that's already available. Never Too Late, and the Freedom Calls 1 and 2. They're already out there. Yeah, it's Freedom Calls 3 that will be released on the.
Oh, so then there were 3 albums released. Okay.
Well, the Never Too Late is a full album, and the Freedom Calls ones are little EPs. They've got 4 tracks on each. So there's one, there's number 2, and number 3 will be out on April 25th, and they've each got 4 songs on. So.
What about performing? Do you go out and tour in the area, or
no? I don't really. No, I've been happier just to sort of work in the studio, I think. And I don't know. It's tricky. We'll see. Maybe.
Yeah. Congratulations, number one, to get out there and work with your son, and to get this music out and putting it out again. I think after all these years, I think that's pretty great.
Yeah.
So whatever process you guys are going to have to either release CDs or albums or whatever that you're going to do, continue doing it, because the more you can make music and you can give out something to the world, that's a beautiful thing. And you show
I've been
your
lucky enough.
artistry.
Yeah, I've been very lucky to make a life for living out of writing and performing in the early days. And since I left the band, I've had quite a few successful projects and animation films and TV, and it's kept me going. And now doing my own stuff, it's really great, because I'd never. As I say, I wrote some of these songs back in the 80s, but they just immediately went in a drawer and got forgotten about. So it's nice now to be able to finish them off properly and get them out there.
your studio, Pluto, that you
Yeah,
started with Lick.
yeah,
It's very exciting to having left Hermits and then moving into commercial jingles and to
yeah.
move into soundtracks and things of that nature. That's a different discipline to be
It's
able
very
to
different.
write for that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it all started with Lek and I in the 60s. I mean, we were still in the band, and Peter got a gig to do this film somewhere. So he was going to be off for like a couple of months, and Lek and I decided we should. We were already writing songs together, but just doing them in my attic, recording them in my attic, you know. And we said, why don't we just put a little studio together, and then you know we don't have to be in the attic. So we built this tiny little studio in Stockport, and uh, we carried on, but then obviously we went back on the road. So we got someone in to run it, and eventually it started going towards doing soundtracks for TV commercials and stuff like that. Lek wasn't interested in that, so he bowed out, left me to it, and we carried on. And I'd got a guy in who was a school friend of mine, had been in my first band before I was in the Hermits, and I rang him and said, "What are you doing? Come and have a look at this." So he came in and ran it, and you know wrote some of the tunes that we needed, and then eventually I left the band and went into doing it full time, and that's when we met a couple of by chance, a couple of animators in Manchester, and we got involved with them. We did their first show, and they then became a very big item. They did Danger Mouse and all the TV things over the years, Winning the Willows, the BFG, and all that. So that was the start of us getting into doing those sort of soundtracks. And then we had to build a studio that was more in the city. This studio was about 8 miles out, so we got some space right in the middle of Manchester and built a big. We had about 5,000 feet, a big 24-track studio, and it was a commercial studio. So we had the Clash in there and the Smiths and all these different people, and and that was it for 10 years, and then lease run out, so we have moved out into the green countryside and built a third one. So this is it now. So this is a space in a 200-year-old barn, but it's lovely. It's just the right size. It's not a commercial studio. It's just for whatever projects either Dan or I are working on. You know, we just get people in, and it's been good.
Bob the Builder, were you doing what theme music for that or in
I was doing
incidental
everything.
music?
Yeah, I did. I didn't write the theme for Bob the Builder. I pitched for it, didn't get it, and then after a couple of years, the people that were making it said we want to change everything. So she asked me again to do some stuff for it, and then gave me the gig. So I did it for 7 years. So I was writing all the incidental, all the songs, everything except the theme song. I wrote for 7 years, and Pingu, and you know. BFG, all this sort of stuff. So, you know, they with a show like that, I mean, that literally went on for 7 years. I mean, it's a good gig.
Now, Keith, we had Beatlemania, but we had Hermit Mania. And let me tell you, the Hermit's Mania was huge. People have got no idea how huge it was around the world. And I can't wait to actually read your book, right, A Hermit's Tale, because I'm sure it's all in there. But for generations out there now that don't know the 60s, what was it like when you're making these movies? Like, you've gone from being a pop group, doing songs, recording. You did the Ed Sullivan Show. I mean, how huge was it doing all the shows in America and then breaking into movies? I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that in the 60s. So what was the mania like as it built up?
It was pretty crazy, you know. I mean, the movie that we did that you were talking about, we did in I think October '65, but I mean, we'd only gone over there with the hits in like the spring of '65, so it was only like 6 months later, and suddenly we're in Culver City at MGM Studios, like crazy. So they rented us this big house in up in Beverly Hills, and that everyone had rented, from the Beatles to Cary Grant, I think, and we had a driver there, and he'd shift us down at the studio at 6 o'clock every morning. It was crazy, crazy. And the script was really crazy. But, we had a great time doing it. And, so we'd get to go out at night. See, that's where we did the Little Richard thing and some of the other shows that we saw. So that was really balmy. But after that, we said, well, if we're going to do another movie, which we knew we were, can we do it in England? So we said, and we got an English script writer. In fact, it was the writer that wrote Mrs. Brown, the song. He was also a playwright. He did theatre shows and television shows, everything. So he wrote the script. So it was all a bit more doable for us,
When you went to the States, I'm just saying, come from the UK and working your way up through this areas and doing all of the UK and then going to the US, as I said, flying there, like when the Beatles went there the first time. I mean, when you went there, it was so huge, and the culture and the lifestyle, the hamburgers,
it was crazy.
the cars.
Yeah, it's crazy because in those days, nobody went from here. Nobody went to America because it cost a lot of money. There was no cheap flights then. And so unless you were part of a big business trip, nobody went. So, and obviously we'd not been anywhere anyway. We haven't, so we'd never even been on a plane, I don't think. So it was the experience of a lifetime. And then obviously meeting all the American people and, the accents, our accents were like quite unusual to them. It's very different now because like so many people have been so much more often, but it was very, very exciting, just over the hill. It was fantastic.
But I've got to ask you about the fans list, similar to the Beatles. You had the same thing, you experienced that. What is it when you're playing in a band and you've worked so hard to get there, and then they're making so much noise and you can barely hear yourself and they're going crazy, the crowds, and what is this? It's like on a different level altogether. It doesn't get higher than that. Only you experienced. That's what I'm asking, what it was like playing guitar behind Peter with the other guys and playing to these huge crowds in the States.
Yeah, it was. We went from playing sort of a high school in a couple of places on the East Coast, and then within like 3 or 4 months, it was like 10,000 seaters and 15,000 seaters, and just very big. And as I say, it happened so quickly that there was no like security in place. We had some really scary moments where you'd run out a door. They'd not told us which door to exit by, and you come out the wrong door, and you're in the middle of the crowd. And there was one famous one where we in those big stadiums you go underneath and then corridors. You've obviously got to have someone leading. You don't know where the hell you are. And we all got out the right way, but Barry got out the wrong way, and he was out on the street, virtually in the crowd. So he grabbed a car that was going past and jumped in and said, take me to the hotel. But of course, he didn't know where he was staying because most of the time we didn't have a name of the hotel. It was just the hotel. And because we were taken there, it didn't matter. So he got in this car to escape the fans. And then it took him about half an hour to figure out where he was staying. So it was quite hairy sometimes, yeah.
Let me ask you about the album Blaze. That's a personal favorite for a lot of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How did that come together and talk? I mean, that, especially 66 to 67, that's considered a masterwork for the emerging pop into psychedelia scene.
Yeah. It was made at a time where I think we were here a bit more, and it wasn't quite so rushed as some of the other. I mean, when we were on tour a lot in America, obviously it was difficult getting recordings done. We were back for a short time, and you'd be in, and you'd do 2 tracks, 1 track, or whatever. Whereas with Blaze, I think we were here. It was a bit more solid, and we could spend more time the actual tracks than we'd done on some of the other album things. And we wrote a good part of that, of the songs that were on it, and enjoyed making it much more than we had some of the others, where it was a bit, only because we got to spend more time on it. We could spend more time on the vocals and things like that. So yeah, it was a good one, that.
Well, do you feel like you guys were progressing with, as the sound of the '60s was changing? That is what I like about that record, is you guys saying this sound that around us is changing, and we're changing with it, and we're evolving to my ears for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we were a very young band when we started, so in terms of creativity and what we were thinking, it's a difference between being 18 and being sort of 23, and we'd grown up a little bit, and creatively as well, and the ideas that we were coming out with had changed.
Now, Keith, we'd like to thank you so much for being on the show. It means a lot to us because, as I said, not only are we interviewers and we're in the media, but we're fans, and we're big fans of the Hermit's Hermits, and we're big fans of yourself. And this is the third Hermit's Hermit that I've interviewed, and personally, that's an achievement because I love the Hermit's Hermits. And the Hermit's Hermits, your music will live on forever. The band will live on forever in pop culture. And I must say to everyone, make sure that you go and see Keith at the Chiller Convention Theatre at the Hilton. It's going to be huge. Make sure you see him. Get the book signed as well, right? A Hermit's Tale. And make sure you get the single as well, Remember When, with Peter Noon. And I just want to tell you, it's been a total honour and a privilege for all of us. Daniel, if you'd like to say something to Keith.
Keith, thank you for all the music, and sometime I need to have you make me a dry martini, because I've heard you make the best one in the world.
Yeah, my specialty.
Yes, but love that.
No problem.
And Keith, I wish you well with all these projects. I hope that you will come out and perform now and again. I'm a big fan of Peter. I've seen him many times in concert.
Okay.
And he does a great show. And I think the two of you together in Pennsylvania would be a lot of fun.
Now, Keith, I just want you to give everyone the links there where they can find you on the web. Just tell everyone where you are.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Plastic Air BP. I really enjoyed it. You can find me at keithhopwood.com. I will be at the Chiller Convention April 24th through 26th, and look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you, Keith. A true pioneer of the British invasion sound. The Hermit's Hermits, as I said, live on forever. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
There's a kind of hush all over the world. Tonight, all over the world, you can hear the sounds of lovers in love. You know what I mean? Just the two of us and nobody else. In sight, there's nobody else, and I'm feeling good, just holding you tight. So listen very carefully, closer now, and you will see what I mean. It isn't a dream. The only sound that you will hear is when I whisper in your ear, I love you forever and ever. There's a kind of hush all over the world. Tonight, all over the world, you can hear the sound of lovers in love. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. So listen very carefully, closer now, and you will see what I mean. It isn't a dream. The only sound that you will hear is when I whisper in your ear, I love you.